All right, I'll say, how are you all this evening of your time as you create time to exist? How are you all? Are you all alive? Thank you very much. Much better. We begin this interaction this evening of your time with the entitlement. Even that. Allow me or us to begin on the following note. We speak quite often to members of your society. Not that this is just from us. It is coming up, shall we say, in the consciousness of your civilization about the idea that you do create your own reality. Has become quite the catchphrase in your new age, shall we say. The idea being, from our perspective, this is true 100%. And this literally, by extension, means that you are all the entire universe. You all project your entire reality. And therefore, the idea is that there is no outside. It is all you, all a reflection of your consciousness. Paradoxically, individually, for each and every one of you, this is simultaneously true. And the idea that it is possible for it to be true for each individual is an infinite idea, which you are exploring through finite senses. But the notion that there is no outside brings along with it the understanding that you cannot get rid of anything, for there is no outside. There is nowhere to get rid of it to. You are the entire universe. You project your entire universe, and therefore, the furthest that you can quote-unquote push something would still be within the parameters of your being or your consciousness. So therefore, it is not, shall we say, a constructive idea to attempt to get rid of anything, for there is simply nowhere to put it. Therefore, you can look at everything that is there. The things in your life, the events in your life, the relationships in your life, and understand that either consciously or unconsciously, you have created them. Now, you seem in that sense to have, as you say, no problem with the positive creations. Therefore, we will put them aside for the purposes of this introduction. However, there is, shall we say, a certain amount, percentage, if you will, of occurrences, of relationships, of events within your immediate reality that perhaps you do not prefer. Now, these have also been created by you, but in general, when a result is an unpreferred experience, it has been an unconscious creation, not a conscious one. We simply mean that we feel that in general you would not consciously, on purpose, create things which you do not prefer if you knew you had the choice, and you do. Therefore, many of your creations are generated from beliefs that you have and have held for various reasons as you were growing up, bought into in this reality. And therefore, because you are not necessarily conscious that it is your belief, you may say it is the product of an unconscious belief. Now, the moment you think about it, obviously it is then conscious. But the idea is that you can only change them, you can only transform them. You cannot get rid of them. Nowhere to get rid of them to. Therefore, the question arises, how may I begin to bring to my conscious awareness these unconscious creations so that I may allow them to transform, integrate them? I know I cannot get rid of them, therefore I will allow them in that sense to transform. And the way to do this is to, on some level, understand that you have created it and look at it as a creator. A creator looks at things that they have created, looking for the purpose for having created it. Now, the idea of negative in general doesn't seem to your conscious awareness to be of service to you. So therefore, even though an event may seem to have a most obvious negative overtone, that is not the reason you created it. For you create symbols, you create ideas and events to be of service to you, to grow, to expand. Therefore, when you label something bad, you do not look at it as though you have created it and do not allow it in that way to serve you. You can begin to, by simply realizing that you have created it all. And when something that seems negative comes along, rather than wallowing in it, you can ask yourself, how does it serve me? Exactly as it is, without changing a thing about it. And you will find that every idea is of service to you when you will allow yourself to even assume that perspective unfailingly. Perhaps very often you will find that there is much more that actually serves you from what you have formerly labeled negative than what actually seems negative about it. And this begins the process of taking your unconscious creations and making them conscious. You can only change a reality when you change the underlying belief. And you can only change a belief once you own that you have that belief. The ones that would be considered unconscious in general are ones that you either do not realize you have bought into or deny that you have bought into. And owning it simply means saying, all right, perhaps I wish I did not have this belief, but I do have it. That is acknowledgement, admittance, owning the belief. And this is always the first step to changing it. Everything serves you if you will allow yourself to look at why and how it is of service to you. Everything, no matter what, even the worst thing you can imagine, even that. So the idea is that you can now begin to use what you have considered to be a big, drag in your life to allow you and afford yourself the greatest opportunity for growth and the greatest opportunity to transform the remnants of what you do not prefer in your life. Even that, no matter what it is, you can say, even that. Perhaps at first you may say, even that. But the idea is, yes, even that. Begin now to look at, as things occur, their relationship to you in service. Perhaps the service will simply be allowing you to key in on what you must have believed to create it in the first place. Again, it is always an opportunity to look at any situation and say, what must I believe? For I know my beliefs create my emotions, create my thoughts, create my actions. What must I believe in order to have created this? Let me look at this. That is using it all your creations. And this is what allows the ones you say you do not prefer to transform. Usually, by the way, quite immediately. And you all seem to be in a rush to expand your consciousness. So you can use any given moment. Understand, briefly, all situations, all events, all relationships, all ideas, everything is a fundamentally neutral set of props. Blank, as you say, zip. You ascribe what you feel the meaning is to you. And the meaning you ascribe and assign it literally is the effect you get back. It is very easy to prove that to yourself. Therefore, everything can be of service. It can be, why is this happening to poor little old me? Or it can be, how is this serving me exactly as it is? One of the things that keeps away from your conscious awareness, the ideas that you wish to transform, is the idea of judgment itself. as a momentary digression, we will define judgment in the following way. Observation or discernment is looking at a particular set of parameters or a particular event and seeing how it relates to you. I prefer it, I don't prefer it, period. That is observation, that is discernment. And you can always stop all processes, all analyses at that point if you will allow yourself. Judgment is saying, I prefer this, I do not prefer that, and therefore that stinks. What that does is assigns it a weight or a meaning that is less than the rest of creation, which, by the way, paradoxically gives it more, not less weight. So the idea is that judgment in and of itself closes the door to your ability to transform an idea, for you cannot own something by invalidating it. You cannot integrate it by judging it as being less than all the rest of creation. So therefore, you can also, along these lines, begin to hone in on where you are most willing to judge, either yourself, situations, or others. Judgment, again, is an invalidation of the thing you do not prefer, and you can simply establish what you prefer, what you do not prefer, and stop at that step. Oh, how interesting this information is. But you need not invalidate the other thing that you do not prefer. We have shared many times that the ultimate truth is composed of all truths by definition. Therefore, all truths are true to those who buy into them and who create them into their reality. And you cannot, in that sense, and I am sure you are aware of this experientially, talk them out of their beliefs. You can express your beliefs, share your alternative choices, but their reality will seem just as real to them, and therefore it is just as real. Therefore, when you invalidate another truth as being a lie, you are simply not recognizing that it is simply as valid a truth that you are not choosing to prefer. And your willingness to equalize all ideas, and here's the key, gives you equal access to them, equal access to choose the thing you prefer. When again you do not prefer something and judge and invalidate it, you do not give it less weight. You give it more weight. You hold it in check, and therefore do not have equal access to choose the thing that you do prefer from the thing that you don't. When you simply notate to yourself what you prefer, what you do not prefer, accept what you do not prefer as just as valid, even that is just as valid, then you give yourself absolute equality to choose either, including the thing you prefer. So, begin to use all your creations in this way, gleaning how they are of positive service to you. Begin to understand, if you wish, that judgment is the invalidational assignment of meaning that does not allow you to use your creations. For even as you change and expand into higher consciousness and perhaps like yourself better, by invalidating who it is you used to be and putting yourself where you are up on a pedestal that you are now so much better, you are invalidating the very stepping stones that allowed you to be the way you say you prefer. So understand, though you may not have preferred the way you quote-unquote used to be, you can simply acknowledge it and not invalidate it. Understand that it had its place and in fact was essential to allow you to be the you feel you now prefer. And you can do this across the board. Anytime you find yourself judging, anytime you find yourself feeling overwhelmed by some particular aspect of your reality, you simply are not looking at how it serves you. Because of your upbringing and the quote-unquote ingrainment of certain beliefs, You may feel that you automatically will assign particular negative meanings to particular circumstances every time they come around with no thought. And even these ideas you can do this with. Perhaps you will have your initial reaction, but then you can take a conscious action afterwards. All right, all right, all right, you may say. I understand what is negative about this. Everybody knows what is negative about this. Now I will be a bit more crafty. Now I will acknowledge my creatorhood and ask myself how it serves me. You will be amazed at how many ideas will immediately come up. Some may play out over time, but there will always be something that you can glean about why not only did it serve you, but it was absolutely essential that that happened. Now here's the good news. When you begin to allow your unconscious creations to become conscious, you begin to then only continue to generate realities, beliefs, consciously. In a sense, you weed out the unconscious ones and then proceed in action, only making conscious decisions. What happens in your physical life at that point is a reflection of the conscious decisions. So, what again we are saying is, as you begin to create consciously, the things which you would have formerly tended to label negative will begin to transform out, so to speak, of your reality. Begin to integrate and perhaps be a notion, but not an experience. So you will not need go around labeling things which you feel on some level as negative the rest of your life and feel that you are playing some mental game. No. At first, this is how to, shall we say, grab the bull by the horns, in that you create it to be a bull sometimes. But the idea is that it is that simple. And you can begin anytime you wish, right now. So next time you feel something to be particularly negative, perhaps you can allow your consciousness to wander to the idea of even that serves me. Even that. How amazing. Would never have looked at it that way in the past. Now I am allowing myself the opportunity to use even that to grow. To use even that to transform all my creations to occur according to preference. And do understand, it is simply a belief that you must experience 50% positive and balance it out with 50% negative. If you have that belief, I need not tell you that you can experience that reality. But if you look at the belief that you can be aware of perhaps 50% positive, 50% negative, but only need personally experience 100% positive, that is also a belief that is available. It is also that simple. Everything we are sharing is quite simple. So therefore, if you have a belief that you must have a complicated process and you wish to experience it as being that simple, look at that belief that you have. That belief, that limiting belief that you have to have a complicated process. We are not saying that reality, creation, existence is not complex, rich in diversity, but the mechanisms for creating are quite effortless. And in fact, you do it without, in a sense, thinking. Therefore, you can begin to steer it toward the positive manifestations. And you can use, again, what you formerly labeled negative. If you will but even give yourself the opportunity to do it even once, you will see that to the degree that you are willing to assign it a positive meaning, you will get a positive, proportional reflection from it. When you allow yourself to do this over a period of time, you, in a sense, counteract the momentum, quote-unquote momentum, that you seem to have created with the unconscious creations, and replace them. You don't get rid of them. You transform them, and in a sense, replace them with new preferred beliefs. So even that. And in fact, you can go a step further. You can actually thank yourself, thank all that is, when something quite negative comes along. You can say, even that, and then go to the next step. Thank you for the opportunity to see a limiting belief that when I transform will no longer consistently seem to be a repetitive issue. And you can simply rejoice in this mechanism, for you already create this way, only again, partially unconsciously. And what we are speaking of now is conscious creation. Before we begin the interaction, allow us to also share that when we say you create your own reality, we do so to allow you to take back the responsibility to do it consciously, not to judge and blame yourself for the creations in your life that you do not prefer. That type of judgment is one of the ideas that we have just shared. When you find yourself judging yourself for it, look at it and see how even that serves you and what you must believe about yourself to be judging yourself. So you can use even that, the judgment itself, to allow you to transform your beliefs. At this timing, allow us to thank you and express our unconditional love and appreciation for your willingness to unfold according to perfect timing. You live within a physical reality, and one of the properties of that reality that, by the way, you also create is time. And therefore, one of the, shall we say, results of time is timing. Unfoldment is the idea of revealing portions of yourself that perhaps you have tucked away to your conscious self according to a particular timing. And you can begin to look at that timing and revel or marvel or appreciate or be in awe of that very timing. You can say, how fascinating. For it is all quite fascinating if you are willing to perceive it in that way. You are perfect creators, and you can create perfect fascination or from time to time perfect misery. It is up to you, and it always has been. For your willingness in this way to begin to consciously view your unfoldment, again we thank you and ask you now, how may we be of service to you? Shedding